Now, for the last part, we have various experiments. And as I said in the beginning, I'll tell you about my favorite experiment that I stumbled upon. Actually, it's a set of experiments, and I read it out from the book. The book is called Honeybee, the Holiness of Nature, written by Dr. Tomislav Terzin. And before I start, I must say that I don't actually agree with many things Professor Terzin wrote in his book, but there are also things that we agree upon. But these sets of particular experiments caught my eye. So let me start. This story is going on for a very long time, and there is no end in sight. Year 1973. Carl von Frisch has just won the Nobel Prize for his work on decoding the bee language, the bee dance. It was the wind in the back for scientists with the development of computers and robots. Communication with bees was in sight. The contact was made, scientifically documented, photographed, filmed, and published in scientific and popular magazines. Kircher and Town, 1994, and Moffat in 1990. In 1988, Michelson and others successfully achieved communication with bees for the first time in known history of mankind. They used a miniature bee robot that danced on vertical honeycomb, indicating the direction and distance of food while producing vibrations. The first attempts at communications were quite bad. The robot made rough movement, hitting bees on its path. Observers who suffered a negative experience lost interest and left the dance floor. Most bees still tried to follow and understand the dance of arrogant foreigner. Later, the dance of robot was perfected, so there was no more inconvenience, and the bees were much more successful in decoding the same message. Michelson et al., 1989. Bees from one hive have a distinct scent, and they attack intruders from other hive. They would have done the same with artificial bee if it had not been put into the hive overnight, when bees are not particularly active. So by morning, the robot would take the hive scent. The researchers coated the metal body of the robot with flakes of wax to make it look more natural to the touch of bees. Moffat, 1990. Although the robot itself, apart from its size, was nothing like a real bee, it was dark in the hive and the bees could not see the deception. The researchers tried to equip the robot with all known details that are important for mutual communication with bees. The robot could give bees samples of sweetened water from its artificial stomach and produce sounds with its artificial wing in the form of thin metal sheet. It was even taken into account that the computer would do what the bee's brain normally does, to correct the angle of dance every few minutes, depending on the change in the position of the sun in the sky. The researchers waited in the field for bees that communicated with the robot. Their arrival at location indicated by the robot's dance would mean that we have understood the bee's language, and we have achieved communications with another species. The results are as follows. 200 to 300 bees flew to the target when directed there by a real bee. And the number of bees that came instructed by a robot bee was from 20 to 100. Moffat, 1990. Regardless of the robot's reduced effectiveness compared to real dancers, it's clear that the bees got the message. They flew to a location which humans communicated to them via computer, with whom the robot was connected. Michelson et al., 1989, and Moffat, 1990. When the sound component was turned off, the silent dance alone was not sufficient to recruit bees. The same results were obtained if only the sound component was included without dancing. Thus, the necessity of simultaneous presence of all dance components was demonstrated in order for message to be understood. Let's think about these experiments from a slightly different perspective. Although we will never be able to calculate as brilliantly as B does, we have invented computers that do the math for us. Although we will never be able to orient ourselves in the space as effectively as bees does, we have invented sensors that indirectly enable us to do so. Human mental capacity is incomparably more powerful than that of a bee. Thanks to that, we also invented a way to get closer to the bee and establish communications with it. We speak her language, not ours. But how did this event look from the bee perspective? In the darkness of the hive, the workers still noticed that the dancer was different, but they were able to understand the information relatively efficiently. What they could not see in the dark was the fact that control cables and power supply continued above the body of the robotic bee. Kircher&Town, 1994. Cables then led from the hive to the computer, and the people sat behind the computer. Moffat, 1990. The fact is that the bees, through the embodiment of the artificial bee, communicated with the people sitting at the computer. And then they went on a collecting flight. Although the robot was a bit strange, the bees continued their usual work. The bees did not notice the historical importance and uniqueness of the moment. It was a human who endeavored to make a communication possible through an intermediary that is reasonably similar to bees. It was a human who made the effort to make the mediator speak a bee language, understood only by bees. But what if we are on a cosmic scale of the bees happening? And what if our planet is actually an experimental hive? Has the history of mankind recorded the appearance of a being that looked like a human, spoke like a human, but in the essence was more than a human? A mediator. After contact with mediator, were the people aware that they were communicating with supreme cosmic intelligence? Did the mediator disappear as mysteriously as he appeared? A mediator who was a communication channel between humanity and higher intelligence. Bees are just an image that can help us get out of the decades-trained mental shell of a divided humanity. I hope you liked these last few pages, which these experiments were documented. They were very inspiring to me. And now, to wrap things up, we've been using too much of our supervision, so now we need to rest our brain a bit, and we need to look at some nice picture while we wait for the next presentation. So thank you for your attention, and now if you have any questions, I'm here and hope I can answer them.